What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with Tech Daily, and in this video, we are checking out the new POCO F7 Pro. Now, here in the US, I unfortunately don't always get a chance to check out phones like these. This is sort of the phone they don't want you to have because, well, it's got all the top tier flagship specs and features, but it isn't $1,000. Far from it. And actually, there are some aspects of this more affordable smartphone that are legitimately better than even the most expensive devices you know. However, I also fully understand that this device has a lot of competition from all the other brands we don't get here in the US, and this new F7 Pro also has, or lacks, a couple of things that die-hard POCO fans are a little salty about. There's definitely a lot to talk about when it comes to this new POCO F7 Pro, and I'm of course going to try and go over everything I can in this video. But first things first, let's unbox it because there are a couple of important things still included in this package. Now, sliding off the lid and flipping it right side up, the first thing you get is a POCO stamped packet, which has the SIM ejector tool on the outside, and inside there's a fat stack of paperwork and setup information that I'm sure everyone reads thoroughly, and underneath all that is a case for your shiny new phone. It's nothing special, just a simple all black silicone, more like a skin, honestly, but it's great to still have that tossed in. Next up is the phone itself, which we'll get back to in just another moment. And at the very bottom of the box, there are still a few more things. One of the big features on POCO devices is super fast charging speeds. And they don't just quietly have that on the spec sheet, they let you know right away by including fast charging accessories in the box. What a concept. There's a 90-watt USB-A wall plug and a USB-A to USB-C cable. And while I'll still knock off a point for being USB-A, I can't complain about POCO continuing to include these fast charging accessories with their fast charging phones. So with all that stuff out of the way now, here is the new F7 Pro once again. I'll power it on, and if you're curious about what the case looks like on it, well, there you go. Like I said, nothing really special, but it does cover all the important bits, top to bottom, side to side, and it's nice to have some protection so you don't clumsily damage something on day one. Now, let me just quickly touch on pricing and availability so we're all on the same page here. POCO, if you didn't already know, is the budget and mid-range sub-brand of Xiaomi. There is some overlap with Redmi, by the way, and while these phones aren't officially sold in the US, for most of the rest of the world, they are available directly from Xiaomi in various third-party retailers and carriers. And they are popular, to say the least. POCO's F-Series is their higher-end line, and there's both this F7 Pro and a completely new F7 Ultra if you want even more oomph and specs. But this F7 Pro is sold for between $450 and $500 depending on the configuration, so certainly a lot cheaper than the flagships you already know. At that price, you might expect some compromises, and don't get me wrong, there are a couple of things on this phone that, let's say, assist in keeping its price tag low. But overall, spec for spec, this new F7 Pro is as good or better than almost any flagship phone you can think of. And I'm pretty sure that's why POCO calls this their F series. The new F7 Pro is precisely 6.67 inches. That's the screen size, corner to corner, though I don't think size matters much nowadays since all Android phones seem to be about this big. You've got a great screen-to-body ratio of 89% and some change with minimal bezels, a hole-punch selfie camera, and a very modern look. There's nothing unique or remarkable about the design, at least from the front, but it's still nice to see this no-compromise setup on a cheaper device. Around back, the F7 Pro rocks an all-glass rear panel paired to a full aluminum frame. If you don't like this shade of silver, you can also opt for blue or black, but I love this finish personally. It looks sleek, it looks premium, it looks like a flagship phone. I do wish, however, that there was slightly less emphasis on the camera setup. This extra large circular module hides 3 more circles within it. Only 2 of them are lenses, by the way, and I know Xiaomi is trying to emphasize the camera on this phone, more on that a little later, but I think we can move past this over-the-top camera module design. Fortunately, it's not a very big bump, and I think overall this is still a great looking phone. It is also IP68 water and dust resistant. Taking a look around, there's nothing on the left side. On the right, your usual volume and power buttons, nothing at the top either. And at the bottom, there's your USB-C charge port, main loudspeaker, and SIM card tray. But no headphone jack anywhere to be found, which POCO fans seem to still want nowadays. There are other things that are missing. microSD card support, and actually eSIM as well. The physical SIM tray will hold 2 SIM cards at least, and for your onboard storage, you can choose between 256 gigabytes and 512 gigabytes. The RAM options are one and the same, 12 gigabytes or 12 gigabytes, and while I do recognize the solid storage choices here, especially for the price, looking at you, Samsung, I believe one of the ways in which Xiaomi subsidizes their POCO devices is by allowing a whole bunch of pre-installed apps like Block Blast and Block Puzzle and Bumble Something and Dust Settle and Jules Blast and a dozen others. Fortunately, it's easy to eliminate these apps from your device. I love that uninstall animation too, but just be prepared and understand that this is probably one of the compromises for getting the price so low. Underneath the display, the F7 Pro does have an ultrasonic fingerprint sensor for unlocking, which I think is a standout feature. This hasn't even made it to Samsung's A series yet, and it does feel ultra fast to unlock the device each and every time. You can utilize Face Unlock too, of course. And as far as that display itself, well, this viewing experience has a lot to offer. The 6.67-inch screen is actually a Quad HD 3200 by 1440 resolution AMOLED panel. It crams in some 526 pixels per inch, it's a 120Hz refresh rate display, and it also gets very, very bright. Collectively, these specs are better than a heck of a lot of $700 or $800 phones, and there's even a little more sprinkled on top to make your viewing experience that much better. The QHD resolution alone is not necessary, but a really cool option to have. 120 Hz, of course, is a must-have, and probably expected, even at this price point. The AMOLED panel is great. It's very bold, very colorful, and there's some additional tweaks you can make in settings that maybe are a little gimmicky, but perhaps you'll find that they make some difference. And with 1800 nits of high brightness and up to 3200 nits of temporary peak brightness, this is one of the brightest displays on a sub $500 phone that I've seen yet. These screen specs are no joke. And while I know there's more to the screen than just the numbers, like the quality of the AMOLED display and the type of 120 Hz refresh rate and the glass that covers it all, you get Gorilla Glass 7i, by the way, I don't think there's any debating that you still get a ton of value here. And honestly, I don't think this is a case of just pouring on specs for the sake of inflating the numbers. I think this is a great screen that punches way above its price range for sure. You do also get dual speakers for your out loud listening, one big one at the bottom, the secondary one within the earpiece, and there is now a Snapdragon sound distinction with the speakers this year, but I don't know how much of a difference that actually makes. If you missed it at the start, powering this phone is the flagship Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chip. Yeah, the same one from the S24 Ultra and the OnePlus 12 and a lot of other phones that have a 4-figure price tag. With 12 gigabytes of RAM on top of that, you essentially get 2024's flagship phone specs at less than half the price. Here are the Geekbench scores for that processor in this phone, and while you can technically make the argument that this is last year's components in a brand new phone, I say, who cares? The difference between anything from last year to this year is negligible, and if you're getting the same power that someone else paid $1,000 for in a different phone, I don't see how that's a negative at all, even if you're a year late. If nothing else about this phone was good, and you gave me just these internal components and the screen I talked about a moment ago, that would be good enough for me. And those two things are probably what most people would need to consider this phone, but fortunately, there's a lot more than just those two things here. The OS, by the way, is Xiaomi's HyperOS 2 over Android 15, which I'm arguably less familiar with than other Android flares, but I do like the look and feel and flow. I think this is a smooth phone with some fun animations, great looking apps. Again, the thing that might irk some people, the compromise, is you'll see a lot of ads and all those third-party apps as well, and things like that. But there's the uninstall button you can always use and plenty of freedom to customize and tweak just about everything. I'll also say, as sort of a plus, that Xiaomi, or I guess POCO, aren't so concerned with AI on this phone as like one of the top line features. Like, yeah, there are plenty of AI software add-ons here, but AI isn't a main selling point of this phone necessarily. It's not the tagline or top reason to upgrade. It's more of a back-end implementation for writing tools, pictures, Gemini, and Circle to Search. POCO seems more interested in hardware and the outright capabilities that encompass the value, and less about various AI add-ons, which I like. You could say they're spec sheet focused, but I would say that's still what a lot more people care about, especially for the money, versus the all-encompassing AI buzzword that's been less and less enticing to people lately. I mean, the specs just keep going. Also powering this phone is a larger than average 6,000 milliamp hour battery, which is again capable of supporting up to 90-watt wired charging speeds with Power Delivery 3.0 and the Quick Charge 3 Plus standard. In tell me what that means terms, you can charge from 0 to 100% in about 37 minutes. So yeah, you'll spend next to no time plugged in, but here's one more compromise or sacrifice: no wireless charging for this phone, if that's important to you. Last but not least, let's jump back to the camera setup. Now, I want to expand a little bit about the physicalities here because it's important to understand what it is this phone actually has. This extra large camera module seems to be housing 3 camera lenses, but it's actually just 2. There's a 50 megapixel main lens and an 8 megapixel ultra-wide lens. That third circle is, I believe, the color spectrum sensor alongside the LED flash and the camera bar, if we're allowed to say that. And up front, the selfie camera is a 20 megapixel lens. Slightly misleading hardware aside, this phone offers a lot in the way of camera features, shooting modes, and settings to adjust just about everything you can think of picture and video wise. I mean, to be totally honest, Xiaomi got a lot out of just 2 lenses here. There's 20x digital zoom, 2 focal lengths for portrait pics, long exposure, image stabilization, HDR10 Plus support, distortion adjustment, additional photo formats, even 8K video recording up to 6 minutes at a time. That's a lot of camera stuff for a phone with a $450 price tag, and I don't think anyone is going to be disappointed snapping pics with this thing. While I am slightly salty about the subtle sock stuffing of the camera's physical design, I don't think I can argue with the capabilities. And while I'm not ready to put this up against an S series or an iPhone Pro or a Pixel, I think this is yet another area where this phone falls well outside its mid-range price point. For me personally, the POCO F7 Pro really encompasses value from start to finish. You truly do get a near flagship spec phone on paper for a fraction of the price, half or less, versus anything else you can think of. Is it perfect? No. Is it free from any compromises? Certainly not. I think the software, what with the apps and the ads, still make it feel a bit budgety, but if you're all about getting specs and the power and the screen too, you really get a lot for your money. And I'm sad we don't get a phone like this here in the US. But what do you guys think about this new POCO F7 Pro? Is it a phone you're considering right now? Is there something else you'd maybe pick instead? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, of course. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video though. Be sure to follow Tech Daily on Twitter and subscribe to the Tech Daily YouTube channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys later.